Welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the most explosive developments in the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. Crimea, the strategically vital peninsula, long controlled by Russia since 2014, has made headlines once again. But this time, the tides are turning in a way that even Moscow could not have fully anticipated. Reports have emerged that Crimea wants to rejoin Ukraine, a historic pivot that has sent shockwaves through international media, military analysts, and political circles. Let's break down what is happening, why it matters, and what it means for the future of this conflict. For years, Crimea has been a flashpoint in Eastern Europe. In 2014, following the annexation of the peninsula by Russia, Ukraine and the international community largely condemned the move, citing violations of international law. Russia, however, quickly fortified its presence, building military bases, expanding infrastructure, and turning Crimea into a heavily militarized region. The peninsula became a symbol of Russian strength in the Black Sea, a strategic outpost that gave Moscow unprecedented leverage in the region. Fast forward to today, the situation has taken a dramatic turn. Sources indicate growing unrest among the local population, discontent fueled by economic hardship, strict Russian control, and the constant threat of military escalation. It is in this environment that whispers of Crimea's desire to rejoin Ukraine have grown louder. Leaked intelligence reports and statements from Ukrainian officials suggest that certain factions within Crimea are actively seeking reintegration with Ukraine, a move that would mark a historic reversal of the events of 2014. This development has not gone unnoticed by Kiev. In response, Ukrainian forces have intensified their operations targeting strategic Russian positions within Crimea. Recent bombardments focused on key military installations, supply depots, and communication hubs, have reportedly caused significant disruption to Russian operations. Ukrainian officials have framed these strikes not just as tactical maneuvers, but as a statement of intent. Crimea is not lost, and Ukraine is willing to fight to reclaim it. Analysts argue that this is a high-risk, high-reward strategy. Crimea's geography makes it a formidable target. Surrounded on three sides by the Black Sea, with rugged terrain and heavily fortified positions, any military operation carries immense risk. Yet Ukraine appears to be leveraging precision strikes, intelligence-driven operations, and psychological tactics to destabilize Russian control. The Ukrainian military is reportedly targeting command centers, ammunition depots, and critical infrastructure to weaken Moscow's grip while minimizing civilian casualties. A delicate but crucial balancing act. Meanwhile, Russia has faced growing challenges in defending the peninsula. Supply lines have been stretched thin, with Ukrainian artillery and missile strikes disrupting logistics and forcing Russian forces into reactive positions. Perhaps most notably, a senior Russian general recently admitted that holding Crimea has become increasingly difficult under sustained Ukrainian pressure. This admission is unprecedented. High-ranking officials rarely publicly acknowledge setbacks, especially in territories considered strategically vital. Yet, here it is, a Russian general underlining the challenges of maintaining control over Crimea, signaled that the peninsula is under significant strain. The human element of this story cannot be overlooked. Ordinary citizens in Crimea are caught between competing forces, facing uncertainty, shortages, and the constant risk of being caught in the crossfire. Many are reportedly torn between loyalty to Russia and the desire for Ukrainian reintegration. While public demonstrations are rare due to the strict control exercised by Russian authorities, Intelligence sources indicate a growing undercurrent of pro-Ukrainian sentiment among the population, particularly among younger residents and those with strong cultural ties to Ukraine. The international implications of this development are profound. If Ukraine successfully regains influence or even partial control over Crimea, it would constitute one of the most significant shifts in the European security landscape in decades. NATO, the European Union, and other international bodies are closely monitoring the situation. Western nations have consistently supported Ukraine's sovereignty, providing military aid, economic assistance, and diplomatic backing. The success of Ukrainian operations in Crimea could embolden further international support, increasing pressure on Moscow to negotiate or reevaluate its military strategy. Russia, on the other hand, faces a complex dilemma. Maintaining Crimea has long been a matter of national pride, a demonstration of Moscow's strength in the Black Sea, and a crucial component of its strategic defense. Yet, with Ukrainian forces mounting pressure and local unrest simmering, the costs of occupation are rising sharply. Analysts warn that a prolonged Ukrainian campaign could force Russia into a defensive posture, straining resources, morale, and international credibility. Let's take a closer look at the military dynamics on the ground. Ukrainian artillery units have reportedly employed precision, guided missiles, long-range rocket systems, and drone reconnaissance to conduct targeted strikes against Russian positions. These strikes have focused on disrupting logistics, neutralizing air defense systems, and targeting key military infrastructure. In response, Russian forces have attempted counterattacks, deploying air and naval units to protect supply routes and fortifications. The result is a tense standoff, where each side measures its capabilities, risks, and strategic objectives. Intelligence experts suggest that the psychological impact of these operations is as important as the physical damage inflicted. By demonstrating the ability to strike deep within Crimea, Ukraine sends a powerful message: no territory is untouchable, and Russian dominance is not absolute. This message resonates not only with Russian military planners, but also with the population of Crimea, potentially encouraging further resistance and pro-Ukrainian sentiment. The stakes are also political. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has consistently framed Crimea as an integral part of Ukraine, vowing to reclaim it through diplomacy, military action, or both. Recent developments give him a potential strategic advantage. If Crimea signals a desire to rejoin Ukraine, Kiev can claim a moral and political victory, reinforcing international support and undermining Moscow's narrative of legitimacy. Russian political circles, meanwhile, are grappling with the ramifications. Admitting defeat in Crimea is politically toxic, particularly in an environment where nationalistic rhetoric dominates. Kremlin officials face the challenge of maintaining public confidence while managing a conflict that increasingly appears unwinnable in certain theaters. The admission by a Russian general, whether intended or leaked, underscores the difficulties Moscow faces in controlling the narrative. The economic dimension cannot be ignored either. Crimea's reintegration, or even a significant destabilization, would have profound economic consequences. Russia has invested billions in infrastructure, military installations, and energy projects in the peninsula. Disruption to these assets would be costly, and potential sanctions or international backlash could compound economic strain. For Ukraine, reclaiming Crimea could unlock economic opportunities, restore access to key ports, and signal a return to pre-2014 territorial integrity. Let's also consider the regional impact. Crimea's position in the Black Sea makes it a strategic hub for maritime operations. Control over Crimea influences shipping lanes, naval power projection, and access to key resources. A shift in control would therefore not only affect Ukraine and Russia, but also have broader geopolitical implications, influencing NATO operations, EU security policy, and even the balance of power. In the Mediterranean region, one cannot underestimate the role of intelligence and cyber warfare in this conflict. Both sides have reportedly employed cyber operations to disrupt communication, gather intelligence, and undermine each other's strategic planning. Ukrainian cyber units have targeted Russian command networks, while Russian cyber operations aim to disrupt Ukrainian logistics and communication. The battle for Crimea is thus not just fought with artillery and missiles, but also in cyberspace, adding another layer of complexity to an already intricate conflict. Looking forward, several scenarios emerge. Scenario 1. Ukraine successfully consolidates influence over parts of Crimea, either through local uprisings or military pressure. This would mark a symbolic and strategic victory, strengthening Kyiv's position in negotiations and demonstrating the resilience of Ukrainian forces. Scenario 2. Russia doubles down, reinforcing military presence and cracking down on dissent. While this could stabilize Russian control in the short term, it risks escalating the conflict, draining resources, and increasing international condemnation. Scenario 3. A negotiated settlement emerges, potentially mediated by international actors. In this scenario, Ukraine might regain partial control or influence over Crimea, while Russia retains a foothold. While less dramatic, this outcome could reduce casualties and stabilize the region politically. No matter which scenario unfolds, the key takeaway is clear. Crimea is no longer a foregone conclusion. The peninsula, once thought securely under Russian control, has become a dynamic front in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. The combination of Ukrainian military action, local unrest, and international pressure has created conditions that Moscow cannot ignore. In conclusion, the story of Crimea is one of shifting tides, resilience, and the enduring struggle for national identity. Ukraine's determination to reclaim the peninsula, coupled with signs of local desire to rejoin Kyiv, signals that the conflict is far from over. Russian forces face unprecedented challenges, from military pressure to local discontent and international scrutiny. The outcome will not only shape the future of Crimea, but also influence the broader trajectory of the Ukraine-Russia war, the balance of power in Eastern Europe, and the international community's response to territorial aggression. For viewers, the lesson is clear. Conflicts are rarely static. Territories that appear secure can become contested, and the will of the people, combined with strategic action, can change the course of history. Crimea's potential reintegration with Ukraine is a reminder that even the most fortified positions are vulnerable when strategy, determination, and resilience converge. As this story continues to unfold, we will keep bringing you the latest updates, analyzing the implications, and breaking down the military, political, and human dimensions of this conflict. Stay tuned, because the battle for Crimea may well define the next chapter of this war, and the future of Ukraine itself. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of global events.